me 1 second. Okay, there we go. So Justin Shaughnessy, here. Avery Howard. Tess Emerson. Jeff Sedenak.
Here.
Kennedy Romeo.
Here.
Danya Kalea.
Here.
Nadine Jones.
Here.
Thomas Almasy.
Here.
Anthony Aventino. Anthony Bonamaze.
Here.
Balakrishna Baramadam. Austin Brown.
Here.
Julia Carson.
Here.
Michael Klein.
Here.
Shantia Cox.
Here.
Emily Crawford.
Here.
Angelo Elia.
Here.
Briston Evans. Michael Factor.
Here.
Elsa Khan.
Here.
Nicholas Kupieris. Nicholas Latanzio.
Here.
Austin Latea.
Here.
Ellie Louisa.
Here.
Haley Lowe.
Here.
Faith Marsico. Here. Mackenzie Mattil.
Here.
Andrew Montgomery.
Here.
Lauren Myers. Anthony Nakley.
I am here.
Dakota Obermeyer.
Here.
Kayla Slattery.
Here.
Dante Smith.
Here.
Dylan Straley.
Here.
Danielle Wido.
Here.
Cassidy Unger.
Here.
Marika Vaughn.
Here.
Emily Vero.
Here.
And Ashley Willis.
Here.
Okay, that is all.
Okay, perfect. And then also for Gianna, the people that came in like at 401, 402, I know I omitted a handful. If you did say you're here and you're here, if you just want to put it in the chat for her, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to look through the attendance right now anyways, just to make sure everybody's
Perfect.
good. So if you did just join, you didn't hear me call your name, just let me know.
Sounds good. All right. With that, we'll move to approve the minutes and agenda. So I look favorably upon a motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
I motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
Perfect. We got Emmy and AJ. Okay, and then with that, we'll move into executive business, starting with the president and executive vice president's report. Okay, so first thing we wanted to talk about was elections. So elections are coming up a lot quicker than you expect. So Avery and I met with Michael Haney, who is the coordinator for student conduct and also oversees Cafaro as the housing coordinator, but he is also, because of his position with student conduct, oversees the elections board and a good amount of the elections process. So he is going to work on establishing an elections board. And for those of you that are newer to student government or didn't go through the elections process, the elections board is completely independent to student government. So they are not student government people. They're not people seeking office next year or anything like that. So he oversees the selection of those people, and they serve as like kind of overseeing the elections process. Student government's role in the elections process is more of the events. So we host like polling locations, we host like Q&A style events, different things like that. But the more election stuff is overseen by them. So looking into the new process, we actually, which we'll discuss in new business, is looking at changing some things about the elections to include some of the COVID updates, but also kind of beyond that. So the changes that we're making are not specific to COVID-19, but we're actually looking into keeping those moving forward. Avery?
Thanks. um, Next one, kind of like what we're going to talk about is really diversity training. And so I know on the agenda it says like we've created an ad hoc committee, which is true. So we met on Friday to kind of discuss where we want to take this in the sense of how we wanted the training for student government to be. And we've curated some great ideas, some great ideas for speakers, great ideas for how long we want it to be. So with that being said, we wanted to expand this ad hoc committee to figures outside of SGA rather than just having students, so have people who are knowledgeable about diversity in general or specific entities like women's suffrage or disabilities, people with disabilities to be able to come in and also give their feedback on this committee and how we should be well versed in those different areas of diversity, because we are students who are representing and serving the whole student body, and so we are a diverse population, so we need to have some of that knowledge as well to make the correct and most efficient decision. So that is all I have on that topic, Justin.
Okay. Tuesday tea time. I know we talk about it every meeting. So we have the spot secured, and we have our first recording Friday with Dr. Howard. Avery and I are also putting together a promo video with marketing, but we'll be using that podcast room. But the reason why it's on the report is also if you guys have anybody that you think we should sit down and talk with for just a quick 15-minute, less formal interview. Please let us know. You can email either myself or Avery, and we'll try to do that. Avery?
The esports program. So that has been a conversation for the last 3 meetings, but they're finally making way. They kind of selected a location that they wanted to pick in the sense of having it in the Penguin plugin. So if you know where that is, located in Kilcawley next to student activities, they wanted that to be kind of their primary location for its first established recreational side of esports, and then moving into professional esports. From then on, they've contacted Microsoft and Dell to be sponsors and also provide maybe some technology for this program. And then now moving forward, we're looking at writing grants for money and looking at outside sources on how we can train people to be professional esports and really develop this program. So we're still in the grounds of developing a program, but it's looking nice right now.
Perfect. So Myers donation. So yeah, we talked about the Myers partnership in our previous meeting, how it was unsure what they were going to bring us. So we met with them, Kennedy, myself, and Gianna, met with them with Dean Licata, and they were able to give us a $1,000 donation in Myers gift cards. Obviously, Myers is not open yet, so they linked us with a representative from the closest Myers, and we'll be working with them to kind of request an order and then just go pick it up for anything that we need. The other one is the advisors meeting. So Avery just sent out an email today. I'm setting up a date and time to meet with our advisors. So our advisors obviously play a key role in student government and continuity between administrations, but also with making sure that we're connected to the right people. We kind of have insight into what administration and faculty are thinking and stuff, and helping guide where we put our resources and stuff. So we wanted to strengthen communication with our advisors by setting up a regular meeting or a semi-regular meeting with the advisors to make sure that Avery and I can kind of have conversations with them and make sure that what we're doing or different things like that, if they can help us or if we can help them. Last one is career development. So this is something that Kennedy Romeo, our Vice President for Assessment Enrichment, was working on, is getting Justin Edwards, or I believe it's actually Dr. Edwards now, but he will be coming to speak to our executive team and kind of helping us with resume building and those professional developments. And we really kind of want that to also be a key component of Student Government Association, especially as we enter the spring semester. A lot of you might be, some of you may be graduating, some of you may be applying for different jobs and stuff. And so resume building and how to work student government and the stuff that you're doing into your resume will be valuable information. Outside of the report, I had some announcements that I wanted to make. So SGA Body Meeting for November 30th. It was not on your regular calendar that I sent out at the beginning. It is a SGA Body Meeting. So November 30th, 4 p.m., we will have a Student Government Association Body Meeting via Zoom. This is when we come back from break. So, or come back, I mean, I guess we're not really coming back, but when we end break. The other thing is, please encourage your fellow students to continue to sign in with the QR codes. I know some students are still going to have, there's some courses that are still, I believe, in person after break. There's like some exceptions to that, but until break and then in the spring, if we're still doing that, please encourage your fellow students as well as you to use those QR codes because there's been a dip in students using those. Stay safe over break. And then the other one is if you haven't completed the online sexual assault prevention course, please do that. You should have gotten an email from Title IX about it. If you didn't complete it, I literally copied and pasted from my email because I have not completed it yet, but it is due November 25th and it takes about 30 minutes. So it's part of, is mandated by the Ohio Department of Higher Education. So please make sure you do that. But other than that, that concludes the President, Executive Vice President's report. And so we can move into the Vice President for Financial Affairs report. 1 second before doing that would you guys prefer if I shared the agenda on the screen in the chat? Would that be helpful, or do you think yes, no in the chat? Yes, okay. One yes is good enough for me. So we'll move to, okay. So I will share that for you. All right, so this is the Vice President for Financial Affairs report. Jeff?
Alrighty, thank you, Justin. So a little bit update on the budget. So out of the general fund thus far this year, we've appropriated about $4,300. However, some of that has been returned, and specifically a large amount of that was when we appropriated money for the Derby Darling event. However, it did not take place. So we had approved that funding, but it never got used. So that just comes back to us. For the spending bill today, we have about $1,000 in there that we're looking to appropriate. So when you kind of tabulate all those out in the general fund, we still have about $124,000 in there. And the new student organization earmark, there's nothing on the bill for today that we're looking to appropriate. So with our one appropriation we've had in there thus far, we still have about $3,500 in there. So overall, start out the year with 133,000. We have about 128,000 remaining. This week, made some edits with Justin just to kind of get it all updated, but there's funding FAQs that are on the SGA website. So, especially the members that are on my committee or anyone in SGA, if, maybe someone comes up to you and they have a question about funding, of course, you can always send an email to me with it. But if it's kind of a more general one that maybe you think you could answer, it's on the SGA website under the funding tab where you can look at that and you have the questions and you click on the question, then the answer pops down below it. So I think they're pretty helpful ones. I think all the reps could actually just, take a look at it, and I think they're pretty informative. Besides that, I'd like to give the Financial Affairs Committee a bit of a shout out with our committee meeting last week, a little turbulent, but we got through it. And I think everyone handled the situation well. So that's all I have. I'll pass it back to you, Justin.
Perfect. And we'll move into the Vice President for Student Life report.
Okay, hello everyone. So if you're looking at the screen, you can see the paint along date was for Friday. I contacted Wonderstruck Cafe and also the art department, which they then forwarded me over to one of the students that has done a paint along before. She unfortunately has a lot of workload and was not able to do it for us. And Wonderstruck Cafe, the manager or whoever runs it there was not in, and they said she wouldn't be in until next Wednesday. So she gave me her phone number. Well, I gave them my phone number and email, but I still haven't gotten anything back from them yet. So we are going to plan on doing it still. It's just going to be pushed back. Whether it's pushed back, depending on when she contacts me, we might do, end of school year, kind of going on break, something they can even do at home, virtual thing they could even, do with their families. So this is an opportunity, we can either push it back to Christmas time, or, if they still don't contact me, we could do it for spring. But hopefully it will be soon. And then with MTV, Welcome to My Crib, we are doing that November 23rd through the 30th. So submissions are going to be available for a week. And then on December 1st, we're going to announce the winner. We're going to post to social media, all of the videos, and then have people vote on them. And then I'll have a nice little gift basket for the winner. And then we're also going to do a door decorating competition on December 4th and announce the winner that day. We're also going to post on social media and have people vote and announce the winner with a gift basket. And then for spring 2021, we decided our main focus is going to be to try to implement that community garden. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's something that a lot of colleges and universities are implementing, and it works very well. So we were trying to see if we can implement even something small on YSU's campus. That's all. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So we'll move into the Vice President for Assessment and Enrichment report. Kennedy.
Hi everyone. So I have some pretty quick updates. As Justin said before, we received a $1,000 donation from Myers. And at the end of this week, we will have a collection from Greek Week where we are expecting to have a lot of items. So we're kind of going to see what we get in from that and then make our decision as to whether we want to place an order with the Myers that is farther away or wait for the Myers and Boardman to be opened up in the beginning of 2021 and use the gift cards then. My committee discussed hanging flyers for the Penguin Pantry in local businesses, particularly the Walmart and Aldi in Liberty, as well as anything else that we think students may frequent, since we know that we don't have as many students on campus this year, but we would like to kind of get the word out without sending emails, because we know that people are kind of tired of seeing emails and reading emails and how often they actually get read, things like that. So we're trying to come up with some different ways to spread the word that the pantry is open and available for any student who needs to use it. Also on Monday, my committee finalized the questions for the 2 surveys that we will be sending out. The questions were submitted to Dr. Kaufman, who looked them over and gave us some suggestions on wording and answers and things of that nature. So we're going to review that and then have them finalized, put into Microsoft Forms and sent out by the end of next week. And that is really it for me.
Perfect, thank you. Vice President for Public Relations report, Danielle.
Okay, we don't really have that much to talk about, but we will be doing a Thanksgiving video, so that should be fun. We're doing a poll for Cyber Monday, and then we're going to be doing an ugly sweater contest, which I think is going to be really fun for the holidays. So yep, we just have these 3 things going out on our social media soon. So
Perfect, thank you. Okay, let's see, let's scroll all the way back up. Okay. So with that, I look favorably upon a motion to move into unfinished business, out of executive business to unfinished business.
Motion to move into unfinished business.
Second.
Okay, so this is the one, and I'm like holding down. There we go. This is the one that we tabled from last meeting, the representative spotlight. I know Avery had asked each of the colleges to kind of go out into their the group chats within band and kind of figure out kind of what you guys wanted to do within your colleges to see if you guys could be available to your constituents for questions or different things like that. And so I kind of wanted to hear how those conversations went, if anybody had any ideas or how you all want to carry that out and if it's feasible within your college.
I had reached out to the other B Classy reps, and I didn't get a ton of interaction with the question, but from those who responded, it definitely seemed as though we all agreed that it was a good idea and that we could find a way to fit it into our schedule. And that if it's just kind of depending on how it's done, if it's on a rotation basis, like it's just one of the reps for 1 hour each week, or maybe it's each one of us for 1 hour each week, will kind of depend on the feasibility of it. But if it's just 1 hour and there's a schedule to it, we think that we can fit it into our schedules, and
Okay.
that it's still a good way to humanize SGA and to interact with our constituents. It seems like sometimes that they don't really know a ton about what we do or maybe even who's representing them. So it just really humanizes SGA, and I think it's definitely something that we should take up.
Okay. And are you, I guess, looking at it, so we were talking specific colleges and stuff, and obviously, exec has office hours, and so it's a little different. But even just like representative office hours, where we can do like signups, where like somebody can sign up, and that's where you guys can get a lot of your representative hours. But we can break them down to college and see if like we get like the entire month filled or something along those lines. Does that sound like it would be? I guess my biggest concern, and really what I want to make sure doesn't happen, is having a representative hour advertised and then no representative. So you know, if we were to do a sign up and we were to make sure that you know, for example, WCBA, you know, I'll pick on Thomas. If WCBA had a rep, and Thomas would sign up for that, then we know like Tuesday at 2:00, Tom's going to be there, and so we can make sure, you know, that we can advertise it and not worry about somebody not being there. So, with that being said, I guess we'll meet with a group here in exec, or if any of you want to be a part of those conversations and seeing like if we use a sign up moving forward, and different things like that. But does anybody else have any ideas for how to move forward? What would be a good idea? I kind of want it to be uniform across colleges. So if we do decide, oh, sorry, Emmy, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. Do you think that would be feasible for the freshman reps too? Because we sort of just float like kind of everywhere. So like maybe have office hours like, okay, freshman to freshman, if they have anything they could ask. Do you think we could do something like that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's obviously very needed. I think, yeah, I think that's, you know, freshmen are, you could talk to somebody in your senior year of college, but, you know, that's a WCBA rep representing WCBA, but I think freshmen, having specific times for freshmen to connect with specifically freshmen would be great. So absolutely.
I do have, so here's a suggestion as well. So if you were to do something, for example, like a live WebEx and stuff, then at that point you're like, that's a lot of like time commitment on everybody's part. And then that's a lot of like scheduling you'd have to do. But if we were to get, you know, questions, if we were to get feedback about, specifically, I'm going to use WCBA since that's the college I'm in. If I were to get questions and feedback and stuff about things that the WCBA is doing, and then every Friday of every week, we almost send out like, it's almost like a newsletter to every student in the WCBA college about anonymously, hey, here's all the questions and concerns, and then here's what our reps have to say about that. So that way, from, you know, Monday to Thursday, every WCBA rep, we kind of have like in our own time to sit at home, answer the question, turn that in to somebody for it to be approved, and then put on to this like weekly, you know, newsletter that would go out. So that's another way we could do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely think it could be different for each college, but I think I would run into the issue personally that like another email that I have to read. So I don't know how, I guess, effective that would be if we wanted people to actually read those questions and get those answers, especially if someone asked a question that maybe needed like a quick turnaround. Waiting until all the way till Friday may not be the best. But also, I think, like you said, Nick, it really depends on your college, and if you feel that people in the business college are more receptive to the idea of having that, and then I would go for it.
I was kind of thinking that maybe like 2 weeks before the start of each month, we could send out like a doodle poll within like each college. So then it's kind of hard for me like to plan out the dates for the whole semester, but if I just had a month in advance and then we could send those out like the week before the month starts and be like, okay, for January, this is the time available for all of these reps.
Just to kind of go off of what Emily had said, I think that this is a really good idea and something that we should do, but I just would say that the only issue that I can foresee for myself, I don't know if other representatives foresee this, is that because of the changing environment, the constantly changing environment that we're in, I'm not sure exactly what the next semester will look like for me in terms of obligations outside of SGA and potential internships. So I think that right now the time commitment works, or at least it works for most people because we're used to the schedule that we've had for the fall semester. But I just think there's so much potential for change that perhaps it would be beneficial if we didn't start it till February or the end of February, the beginning of March, just so everybody can kind of, actually see how next semester is going to work out for them.
I agree with AJ. I think waiting for things to be a little more stable is a good idea.
Yeah, I think though also it gives you some variability in the sense that like we're taking this by, or in my head I was thinking that it was taking about this way, that we're taking it in a way where we're splitting it up, and so we're giving all of you guys autonomy in the sense of, or even including myself, someone that's in the STEM college, that if STEM college wanted to do their kind of communication with their college this way, and B Class E wanted to do it a whole different way, that is fine, as long as there's some type of set structure in the sense that I know that when you create your idea, that you're going to be there and there for that time commitment. So regardless of the schedule or the way that you go about it, I think as long as there's some unity and all of the reps and like all the people in that one particular college that they're like, yes, we're going to do a newsletter like Nick said, and that's how we're going to do it, that's fine. That's the way I was thinking about it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I guess moving forward, I agree with what you said, AJ, about kind of feeling out the new semester before moving forward all the way. But I think we have a lot of great ideas to go off of. But yeah, like I said, I kind of want to make sure that we have kind of a uniform process for each college, just so for advertising and stuff, especially if it's on our social media. But yeah, that we'll move to new business. I have SBF 2020-04. So 2020-04 is our bill. I know Jeff, oh, my bad, Nick. Okay, just making sure it's right. Okay, Nicholas, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So let me just pull it up for a second here. All right, so last week at our financial affairs committee meeting, it definitely was an interesting one. But we had one student organization come in. So we, for SBF 2020-04, we have Section 1, Youngstown Student Education Association has appropriated the sum of $1,050 from the general fund to defray the cost of food and supplies for their Inspiring Minds Christmas party. And then I don't know if Jeff has any additional.
Yeah, I believe Jeff has the statement.
Yeah, I have a statement. I needed some modifications, but I can kind of bring up part of it. They just wanted to definitely clarify the fact that they're going to do this in a drive-through format, obviously with the COVID precautions and being read and all of those things. And they brought the idea to us. They kind of wanted to kind of have this in person where they were going into the classroom, but they've since updated that and saying that they're doing it in a drive-through format fashion. This is an event to benefit the children at Inspiring Minds up in Warren. It gives the students who are part of the Youngstown Student Education Association a chance to kind of practice their skills that they're learning in the classroom with the students while also giving back to them. you know, even though that COVID has changed a lot of things for everyone, they still feel that it would be rewarding to give the children something to look forward and help them with, you know, having something fun to do at home and with the more distance learning. So that's a little bit more about that. I'll leave it back to you, Justin, for the vote.
Okay, so with that, if anybody would like to discuss SPF 2020-04, you can motion to open the floor to discussion. It'll need a second. If you would like to move straight to voting, I'd look favorably upon a motion to vote on the bill as a whole.
I motion to vote on the bill as a whole.
4 people.
Second.
Okay, so I got a third, fourth, and a fifth. All right, so okay, I kept clicking unmute and it just would not work. But Zoom does not do polls very easily, so I'm trying. But we will vote via the chat box. So all those in favor of SBF 2020-04, you can put yay, yes, whatever in the chat. So we'll do that first. Okay. All those opposed, you can put no. And any abstentions, you can put abstain. Okay, perfect. So the bill passes. And just for everybody's knowledge, I know we mentioned it before, but any bill that passes for in-person events, okay, so we have 1 abstention. But any bill that passes for in-person events, there's always like kind of an asterisk if something changes or if different things happen and that event can't be held in person, then we would go from there. But so for this one, if there, you know, new regulations come out, different things like that, we wouldn't be able to host. Moving back up, I think the next thing we have is our bylaw amendments. So looking at our bylaws outline our election process. And so moving forward, so COVID-19 obviously had a big part in us really looking at our bylaws in terms of elections. And one of those things is our petitioning process. And so when we petition, our representatives are required to collect 25 signatures in order to have their name appear on the ballot, you know, along with those other requirements of being a obviously registered student, GPA requirements, and different things like that. And so what we're looking at doing, and this is, again, I want to be clear, this is us showing you today. We won't vote on it today, so we'll get input, hear what you all have to say, and then we will bring it up for a vote at the next body meeting on November 30th. So looking at nothing was changed in the beginning. It really doesn't have any changes until we get to the election section, but I wanted to include all of the bylaws so that way you know where it is and what we're talking about. Okay, so right here, we have the elections board. So essentially what we're trying to do, and this has been a conversation that we've had with Aaron, Avery, and Michael Haney, was getting rid of the petition process and just going with the candidate verification process for representative positions. And the reason for that is traditionally I have always seen the petition process as a way of kind of like testing your drive to be a representative. You have 25 people, you met with them, you got their signature, and now you're running to be a representative. So that way you just don't get, you know, a bunch of people that fill out the form, turn it in. And so what we're doing is just utilizing that candidate verification form, and obviously with the hopes that we would get more reps running, and then we would have essentially contested elections where the student body within those colleges would have to choose the representative. So I feel like that's a more legitimate process rather than getting the 25 signatures. And so if you have a contested election for example, WCBA, they are getting the most votes, and so those leftover positions would not be representatives. And so that's what we're looking at. And so we have here, it was just getting rid of the word petition and then rephrasing it to candidate verification process. Membership, that's all has to do with the elections board, so nothing was changed there. This was kind of a change that needed to be made. And so we have Associate Vice President for Student Experience, which was Dr. Howard. Then he became Vice President of Student Experience for Student Experience. So that name and title kind of changed because there are two different levels of position. And so what we did, because especially with Dr. Howard leaving, we're not too sure what spring would hold. So we're including Vice President or Associate Vice President for Student Experience. So those, you'll see that a couple times, I'll point them out, but and candidacy requirements. To be a candidate for a legislative assembly, representative, or academic senate position, a student must abide by the following guidelines. And so this was the petition section. So file petition 25 names and declare candidacy, 15 names for part-time students. This petition may be filled by either paper or electronic mechanisms, and that would be up to the elections board. And so what we did is in those other sections, we have all petitions and declaration of candidacy. We just phrased to declaration of candidacy shall be made available to the student body on the 5th week of the spring semester. And then again, declaration of candidacy must be submitted by the Division of Student Experience by 5 p.m. Getting rid of the word petition and then changing it to, just keeping that declaration of candidacy. Again, vice president versus associate vice president, so that change was made there. And then another petition, remove of the word petition. So that's kind of like all of the changes that came along with, I'm just making sure, all of the changes that came along with making that change. And so I really kind of want to hear what you guys think, any suggestions or conversations about that. If you're not sure about the petition process and what it kind of includes, we can talk a little bit about that. I know some people were appointed and didn't really go through that process, but might want to moving forward. So any questions, comments, or conversations you want to have?
As a freshman rep, do you run as a freshman rep or do you run for your college? Like if you're a second semester freshman?
Right. So second semester freshman, you would then start running for your college position. Freshman rep is just because in high school you wouldn't be able to run an election, in your senior year. So we appoint our freshman reps, and then if you want to continue, you would run for a new position as a HHS rep, B-classy rep, whatever it may be.
Okay,
I also do want to be clear. So your positions are held for a year. So all of the people right here, if you want to continue next year, you would have to run another election and do it every year. I know that sometimes I get some people that thought it was more longer than a year. So I just want to make sure that's clear. Any other questions, comments?
I had a question with like colleges like getting combined now that like was when I ran as like an education college, now that's combined. How did that affect like the number of representatives per like college?
Yeah, good question. So this year it didn't affect it at all. So our I believe it might even be our constitution outlines the requirements for representatives by the previous year's enrollment. So the previous year we had it was not combined, and so we just took those two colleges, made that one position and combined those two colleges with enrollment size. Next year, the requirement, they would have to look at enrollment in specifically B-classy. They'd have to look at enrollment of B-classy, and we would do that because obviously we're going to be running the elections. Well, the elections board will be, but we'll make sure that they have the numbers based on enrollment. But essentially, yeah, we would look at the enrollment this year within that college and then determine using an equation, I guess, constituency equation that's in our governing documents to come out with a number that would be this many reps for B-classy. Any other questions? Yeah, so with this change, essentially getting rid of the petition process for president and vice president, the petition process would still exist. Obviously this year, Michael Haney and Avery were talking about it's going to look a little different. He even spoke about like using the potential of using a Maxient form if we're able to kind of send that out or share that so that they can get that without any contact. But for representatives, limiting that contact for this year, but also getting more people to run for student government and making sure that we have some contested elections, because that'll result in competitive, making sure that you guys are showing your platform and making sure people vote for you for the different things you want to do. So I think Avery unmuted his mic. So.
Yeah. Well, and also like our hope for this is that like maybe we'll get some different perspectives and different candidates, in the sense of maybe some people do not feel like they knew enough people to sign the petition to get it signed. So hopefully this will allow people to still feel like they can run an election and campaign for themselves without having to go up to strangers and express themselves, basically, essentially.
Okay, I had to click it like 4 times to unmute. Anyways, it's a good point because we have strict guidelines on when you could start campaigning, and so if a student maybe didn't know 25 students, they're not allowed to campaign when they're getting signatures. So they're not allowed to like go around telling people what they want to do as a representative. So it quite literally turns into a popularity contest for those 25 signatures. With getting rid of that, then they can run a campaign, show students, garner the votes because of their platform and different things like that. So any other comments? This again will be proposed next body meeting to be voted on. So speak now. I do not now. Okay, perfect. If you have anything else you'd like to add, or if you think of anything, you can email us. Again, this will be held just as it was presented to you until the next body meeting, unless any representatives suggest edits. I could just do this, and it's taking forever. Okay. So last thing, and we have 15 minutes left, is our spring retreat. So we basically want to do another retreat. We had one in fall, but we wanted this to kind of have a different focus and kind of help kind of push our spring initiatives forward and make sure that we get a good footing. So with that, I kind of wanted to ask you all, for those that attended the fall retreat, what were the good parts? What were the bad parts? What did you want to see? And different things like that. So I know we did some icebreakers. We did kind of like important people in student government and different things. Is there still things in student government you don't understand or don't know that you'd want to include if you feel comfortable?
I would just say, you can go ahead, Avery.
I bestow that you can go, so just go ahead.
I would just say that I enjoyed the icebreaker activities we did and the scavenger hunt. I think that's just because we don't really get to be with each other this year because of COVID and everything like that. So I think if we could have another event like that where we got to do interaction with each other and just got to know each other a little bit, that would be really enjoyable.
Okay, I agree.
I like that idea. I personally think that like maybe we should have some focus on professionalism, in the sense of like, if we like have workshops in the sense of like, oh, like how do I, edit my resume to fit student government in there for my specific careers? How do I send a professional email to faculty members on campus or outside of campus? Those type of workshops that kind of like help hone in our leadership may be useful for the retreat as well.
I really liked the section that we did about, we were like in our committee groups talking about different issues we had on campus. But I kind of think for the spring one, it'd be cool if we were like mixed up with people not from our subcommittee, because I know my committee members very well, but I feel like I don't know anybody else that's in student government.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's definitely something we can do, even uh, moving it around like random, even would be just think groups. But anybody else?
I was thinking that maybe, because like we did a lot of icebreakers in the big group, but we didn't do any when we actually did sit at those tables with our individual subcommittees. So maybe if we saved like maybe one or two of the bigger icebreakers for the smaller one, just so that new members maybe could, or people who haven't been in student government that long could get to know the people they'd be working with like every other Monday, maybe a little bit better. And then I think that that might help the brainstorming session at the end of the retreat go a little bit more smoother, because you already kind of know the people instead of that being like the first time that you really sit down and talk to them.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's something we can include. And so I also wanted to say that moving forward, this is something that we want to kind of set up for future student governments as a normal flow of onboarding, which is my favorite word now. So I see Aaron. But yeah, so a normal form of onboarding where the fall conversation is a little different than the spring conversation. The fall focuses on student government as a whole, what it is, your role as a representative, and kind of building, starting to build that confidence. And then spring being more so like including aspects of professional development, and professional like career services style stuff, but also including like a conversation of like, okay, you know what student government is now. What are some things you want to see? Where do we, how do we like help you kind of like even pushing your own initiatives or starting those own conversations, reaching out to people and different things like that. So yeah, any other thoughts on that? Okay. All right, perfect. So we are going to start the planning process for that. You'll hear from us. We'll probably reach out regarding like different available. So yeah, so we'll reach out about that and the availability and stuff. But other than that, that's really all I have with a new business. And I just noticed I never really open the floor to conversations on things. I just kind of open them. So, but that's fine. It's Monday. It always is Monday for student government. But announcements. Does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share with student government? Okay, easy.
Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but I'm trying to start a new campaign, if you want to call it that, on Band, in the sense of shout outs, because I really feel like a lot of you are doing like a lot of great work. And I know I'm doing a lot of great work. And so with that being said, I think it's great to acknowledge and appreciate those people for doing great work. I don't know how many times I can say that. So hence why Faith was my first one. She did amazing in the meeting, like I said. And she just like showed like incredible leadership. So I really feel like if you have someone, your peers or other representatives or even VPs, like if you have someone in your community that you feel like has done above and beyond, make sure that you give them some appreciation by, putting it in band and putting it on the feed, because it helps. I think it helps to be acknowledged. So thanks, Faith, for being incredible. And so continue to do that, guys.
Perfect. Yeah. Any other announcements? All right. If you guys were able to tune in to the guest speaker student government hosted, it was awesome, and Avery was doing a lot of the work behind the scenes to make sure he got here. So I guess starting with the first, after Avery, Aaron, and Joy, and all those people that kind of helped to make sure it went off with no issues and stuff. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. It's recorded and it will be on our website shortly. We have it on our YouTube right now. It's about 50 some minutes. but he does speak on a lot of really important issues, especially now. And so if you have the time, go see that. But other than that, if there's no announcements, we will move in. We could do we'll do advisory remarks, and then if any members have remarks. So advisory remarks, we can start with Erin because I can see her on my screen.
Hi, everybody. Just a couple things that I wanted to share with all of you. Even though Julie wasn't able to join us today, there are a couple COVID-related things that I wanted to make sure are on your radar. One, this Wednesday from noon to 7, there's going to be free rapid result COVID testing taking place in the Chestnut Room. That is for students, faculty, and staff. If they have to be 18 or older with a valid ID in order to get tested that day. And so any of you that are going to be traveling for the holidays, especially, it's a really great way for you to know before you go. You've probably seen that campaign started through the university's social media channels, but just wanted to make sure that you were all aware of that. The other thing that I wanted to get on your radar is that Dr. Howard is doing weekly chat with the BPSA drop-in sessions. So if you have questions about COVID, so if you're paying attention to the dashboard and you're curious about how the university is responding to anything or what plans might also be out there in the long run, I'm going to put the link in the chat box so that if you would like to join in on Thursday, it's casual. You don't have to RSVP in advance. You can just come with your questions or just come and listen, and we'll share some updates about what's going on in terms of COVID response. And also wanted to say thank you to all of you for your work this semester. It has been the most unusual semester that we've had with SGA, but I've also been probably the proudest of any of the SGAs that I've worked with. I mean, I think that everyone has been flexible and committed and not allowing a pandemic to be an excuse to not make things happen for our students on campus. So you have awesome executive leaders. So shout out to all of them, and thanks to all of the reps. I'm sorry I haven't gotten to know you as well this semester, but I know I have faith there will be a chance for us to get to know each other better. So please be safe. Good luck, and thanks for the time.
Perfect, thank you. All right, Dr. Kaufman.
Yeah. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah, perfect. I have nothing super important to add, but I will second Erin in terms of you guys just being flexible and still getting so much done. It's just been impressive to be on the observing end of the work you've done this semester. I hope you guys all have a good Thanksgiving break, whatever that looks like this year, and stay healthy, and good luck through the rest of the semester.
Perfect, thank you. Provost Smith.
Thank you. So to report on a little bit of embarrassment for me, maybe last time I reported this when we got together, but I had met with quite a few groups because several weeks ago, after meetings with the president and our team and looking at numbers, we came to the conclusion that we were probably going to be able to make it to the end of the semester without making any changes in how we taught our classes due to COVID. Well, then almost abruptly, as I was telling groups this, last Wednesday, we received news from a number of local hospitals that they were filling up quickly, and there were concerns about being able to serve enough patients, and that other universities across the state were having similar concerns. So I then about faced, and we made a decision to go virtual after Thanksgiving. Some professors and some departments are moving to do that sooner. So I apologize for the inconvenience on you, both in leading you to believe, if you were in one of those groups that I sent that message, that we would make it. But I think that your safety and the safety of our community is important. And so we're moving that direction. So please let me know if you have any concerns or unanswered questions. But we will start after Thanksgiving break or before in being all virtual. Obviously, with some 4,000 classes, I can't answer specific questions about when your final or how your final will be or if your particular class will be on campus or not. But we do intend to keep you safe, and we'll answer any questions that I can answer at a global level if you like. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. And then we'll move into member remarks. If anybody has any member remarks, I think it's probably best to do it that way with virtual. So anybody that has any member remarks, feel free to unmute your mic. All right. I think that's everyone. I do want to say I hope you guys have an awesome week, and just to make sure that numbers are getting higher and higher. So just make sure you're staying safe and staying healthy, and then also make sure to check out YSU's social media as well. They've been putting out a lot of videos about conversations that a lot of students are having about coming break and the rise in numbers and different things like that. It came out really well. So check that out. If you'd like to utilize those services, what was the date and time, Erin, for the testing? I'll just put it in the chat.
Sure. The testing is Wednesday, November 18th from noon to 7 p.m. in the Chestnut Room.
So if you want to utilize that, stop by and there's no appointment, correct, required for those?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll drop in.
All right, but other than that, that's all I have. If anybody has anything else, wait 5 more seconds. Perfect. Okay, I look favorably upon a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Perfect. That's usually the quickest one. All right, you guys have a nice week. We'll see you next Monday, and then enjoy your break after that.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.